Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at something I like to call the architecture of resilience. We're going to examine exactly how we perceive setbacks, but, we aren't just looking at this philosophically. We're actually going to analyze failure through the lens of 30 years of actuarial and risk management experience. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever really considered how we define those moments when things just go completely wrong? We so often rush to label them, right? Immediately in the heat of the moment. But honestly, perhaps our foundational definitions are fundamentally flawed. Let's really unpack the true mechanics of a setback.
So, what truly defines a failure? Is it that exact split second a target is missed, or a model literally collapses? We all carry around this deeply ingrained preconceived notion that the collapse itself is the failure. But listen, if we strip away our immediate emotional reactions, right? If we look really closely at the objective reality of a setback, like how risk modelers actually view it, a completely different perspective emerges. I want you to just keep this question right in the back of your mind as we walk through this analytical framework.
Moving right into Section 1, the act of falling, stripping away the negative stigma.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how firmly our source text literally draws a line in the sand. Failure is definitively not the momentary act of falling down. If you look at 3 decades of actuarial data, taking a hit isn't a failure at all. It's just a statistical inevitability. It's going to happen. The momentary physics of a fall, the stumble, the sudden drop, the impact, they are completely decoupled from ultimate failure. You can fall, and yet in that exact moment, you absolutely have not failed. You've merely encountered a modeled risk. It's just a bump in the road.
And that brings us to Section 2, redefining true failure, the danger of the static condition. And this brilliantly illustrates the core dichotomy of our entire framework. Falling down is just a brief, momentary event. It has a distinct beginning, a middle, and an end. But staying where you have fallen, well, that is a prolonged state. It's a passive condition. See, in risk management, the active occurrence of a fall is just a discrete little event on a timeline. It's a totally contained loss. But remaining on the ground? Man, that is an ongoing, enduring state of being, where that loss passively compounds and, frankly, becomes catastrophic. Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 3, the choice to rise, the climax of resilience. Falling down is not a failure. Failure comes when you stay where you have fallen. The entire architecture of resilience, and honestly, pretty much any successful 30-year risk mitigation strategy, rests perfectly on that second sentence. Think about it. That first sentence absolutely absolves you of the statistical stumble. But that second sentence, that assigns you the complete responsibility of the recovery. So the crucial point is this. Falling is an event. Staying down is the failure. Guys, this represents a massive paradigm shift. It literally transforms failure from this unavoidable accident into a totally controllable state. You don't always control the environment or that initial stumble, right? Volatility is practically guaranteed, but you possess total, absolute control over whether or not you stay on the ground. True failure actually requires your complicity. It requires you to passively accept just remaining static. So the next time you fall, will you choose to stay where you have fallen? Because ultimately, it is a choice. Decades of assessing risk show us, without a doubt, that true power isn't found in a perfect fall-free record. No way. The power is found entirely in the refusal to stay down. The architecture of resilience is built in the exact moment you mitigate that loss and you decide to rise. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this analytical breakdown powerfully reframes the way you approach your next inevitable stumble.